Welcome, everybody, to episode 37 of UnHacked. Guys, UnHacked is a bit of a deliberate misnomer. Truth is, 97% of breaches, we're supposed to call those attacks now if we're going to be politically correct or whatever, 97% of them could have been prevented if we're following basic cybersecurity measures, best practices, industry standards, whatever we call them. Now, Bryan, you'll remember we found out on a previous episode, trolling Reddit, that an MSP owner got on there and he's like, I have no idea what the hell these best practices are.
Yeah.
So like, if we don't know it, how in the hell is a business owner going to understand what they need to do to prevent? But here's a situation. Okay. I'm a business owner and I'm responsible for everything, literally everything.
Yeah.
I get a dozen calls a day from vendors. All of them are trying to sell me the easy button, the magic pill, the thing that's going to get me out of jail for free. Across the board. Now, in cybersecurity in particular, as a normal business owner, I have no idea what they're talking about. It's a completely different language. And we've broken that down from a different comment that I stole off of Reddit. I like Reddit. But the
that makes one of us.
It's a dumpster fire. It's a good place to go get information. Here's the thing, though, as a business owner, if I get this wrong, I'm in trouble. I can lose everything. I can lose my data, my intellectual property. I can lose the trust that I've built up with my clients, my customers, my patients, whatever we call them, whatever industry we're in. I can lose everything in my bank account. And if that's not enough, then now we've got the lawyers sniffing around trying to throw class action lawsuits on us after we've been breached. So it's a war zone. It really is. It's terrible. But that is what we're here for. We're here to talk to the business owners who are overwhelmed, overworked, and help them sort through the just nightmare of recommendations that they're getting. Boil it down to, what are those best practices? What is the 97%, the things that we can do to undo, or not undo, that's the point, we can't undo it, but to prevent basically all the attacks. And then, if somebody wants to get in bad enough, they're going to, so we still have to close that 3% gap. We do that with a good cybersecurity insurance policy, and then regular policies and procedures that we follow. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're all about. I am Justin Shelley, CEO of Phoenix IT Advisors. We do most of our work in Dallas, Texas, and then we have a little bit going on out in Elko, Nevada, up in northern Utah, and some other places out west. I'm here, as always, with my good friend, Bryan Lachapelle. Bryan, tell us what you do, who you do it for.
All right. Well, similar to Justin, I also help business owners with IT. My name is Bryan Lachapelle with B4 Networks, based out of Niagara Region, Ontario, Canada. And we help small businesses get rid of the headaches that come with managing IT securely. And I like to say that we help business owners and businesses in general go through the journey of being unsecure all the way to being as secure as they possibly can.
All right. Then we're also here with Mario, our other good friend. Mario? Mario's AWOL this
week. He's out of action.
All right. Mario's off. I don't know. He's preaching the good word somewhere. He's at an event preaching cybersecurity. So we're going to give him a pass this week. But we have a special guest. This week, I am excited to introduce Christian Espinosa. Now, Christian, I've heard rumors that you are the smartest person in the room. True or false?
False.
Okay, well, at least it's the title of one of your books. If you could get in a room of people and say, hey, raise your hand if you've ever written a book, not very many hands are going to go up. So, Christian, if that was it, if you had just written one book, and by the way, we're going to get more detailed into that title, so don't worry about my stupid smartass comment there. Of who's written books, it's not very many. So if that was it, if you had just written a book, that would be pretty impressive. But you've written another book, The In Between. Now, this is Life in the Micro. I've got to get the whole title. In Between, Life in the Micro, which at a minimum is audio version. Do you have a physical book as well?
Yes.
Okay, that probably came out first. Now you've got the audio. I have downloaded the audio. I've started listening to it. I'm not far enough in to really comment, but definitely excited to hear more. So not only have you written a book, you've written two books. You've built and sold a successful cybersecurity company called Alpine Security. You currently lead the Blue Goat Cyber for medical devices. You protect medical devices. Now, this is one that we have not really discussed here on the podcast, but you get a pacemaker put in, somebody hacks your pacemaker. End of life. We're no bueno. Because that's not enough. You've got a podcast going along with that. You are a white hat hacker. Now, I don't know about you, Bryan, but this might be worth a separate episode where we dig into white hat hacking, what that means,
absolutely.
and the benefits. You're a keynote speaker. I mean, maybe you'll talk to us about some of the places you've spoken. Heavy metal connoisseur. Now tell me, Christian, what is your favorite band? I've got to know.
It used to be Nightwish, but I think it's Arch Enemy now.
Ooh, I don't even know what those are. So I guess I am not a heavy metal connoisseur. It turns
Well,
out.
I like Metallica as well.
Okay, that's a name I know. That's one I know. I would go with AC/DC as my top rock band. I don't know that they're really heavy metal though. So they're
more rock.
Yeah. And if we moved into more modern, something that the youngsters these days would understand, it would be Disturbed. They're probably my most recent favorite band. Still, I don't know that they really fit the true heavy metal category. But anyways, I am a lover of rock. We'll say that. I guess you've been skydiving. You've been diving underneath the water. A dive master. That's somebody you teach people to dive. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to talk about that someday because it's another thing I've always wanted to do. You scaled 2 of the 7 summits. What the hell? Do you mind telling us which of the 2 you've scaled?
I've done Kilimanjaro, which is in Africa, and Mount Elbrus, which is in Russia. It's the highest peak in Europe.
Dang.
Very cool.
Okay. Crazy. I mean, these are in the category of Everest, right? And I don't know anything about climbing, but I did watch the documentary on Everest, and it took away any need I ever have to try this out. I mean, the Sherpa, the guy in charge, the one leading the pack, spoiler alert, he died. Not interested, but you've done that. Now, here's where I do get a little excited though, Christian. You've done 24 Ironman triathlons.
Unreal.
I don't want to brag, but I've done 5 marathons, and I used to think that made me the shit, right? Like, 1% of the population has ever done a marathon, 26.2 miles, and I'm like, man, I'm something. And I'm actually getting ready to do my 6th one this year.
Nice.
Then I see yours, 24 Ironman. So, guys, if you don't know what an Ironman is, it's a marathon. That's a part of it. That's a third of it. And then you've got to swim 2.4 miles. I don't know how to swim. I can barely, if I dive off the diving board, I can doggy paddle to the side. That's it. I'm not making it 2.4 miles. And then you've got to ride, and I don't know which order they go in, but you've got to ride a bike for 112 miles. So this makes marathoning look like child's play. So, Christian, Jesus Christ, when are you going to do something with your life? That is my question, my burning question.
I'm working on it. I'm still working on it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give you a pass on that, and then maybe we'll do another follow-up episode when you've actually gotten off the couch and done something. Joking aside, let's get serious. Let's talk about cybersecurity, because like I said, it's a real issue. It's something that, I mean, if we're being honest, nobody really wants to talk about. You got enough problems running a business. It's kind of like buying insurance. Like, yeah, you have to do it, but can we just do it and be done and walk away? But you said something that caught my attention. You said that we are losing the cyber war. Now, as a soldier in the war, or whatever title I'd give myself, I didn't like to hear that. We're losing. And then you gave a little bit of hope when you said the root cause and the new solution. So I'm going to punt to you, Christian, and I want you to just let's talk high level first, and then we're going to dive in and break this stuff down. We're talking to the overwhelmed, the overworked, I don't want to say undereducated, but definitely not the cybersecurity specialized business owner. What do we need to tell them to help them win this war and stop losing it? Because the truth is we are. You look at the news all day, every day, somebody's getting breached, somebody's losing everything, somebody's going out of business. So, Christian, what is the good news for today?
Well, the good news is there are some relatively simple things you can do to really minimize the risk of someone attacking your environment.
Okay.
And those things are often ignored. Nobody considers cybersecurity until it's too late.
Correct.
And as a small business owner, I think it's extremely important to consider cybersecurity because most businesses go out of business after a cybersecurity, data breach.
Correct. Yeah. Do you happen to have the statistics on that?
I think it's 80 something percent.
That's kind of what I've heard too. Is that, if you get hit, it's It's just the odds of coming back, and kind of like we talk about the title of this podcast, you're not getting unhacked. You can recover. Like some people do, they recover, they stay in business, but you do it with a damaged reputation. You do it with a lot less money than you had when you started out. You do it with new friends in the legal profession, and the government, right? You got new friends in the government too. It's just, it's not a good situation. So, I mean, we don't want to get there. So what do I do as a business owner to make sure that I'm not this guy?
Well, I think something you have to do is put cybersecurity on your roadmap. And one of the problems we have is cybersecurity professionals are not the best communicators. And and they don't understand what it's like to run a small business. So they'll tell you you have to do 100 things in order to be secure. The reality is all those 100 things should be prioritized by which gives you the biggest bang for the buck. And from my experience, if you do like 5 of those things very well versus 100 horribly, you'll be much more secure.
Yeah.
All right.
Would it be safe?
Oh, go ahead.
Would it be safe to say then, because I like the word journey, would it be safe to say that when you say prioritized, like maybe, in the first quarter we handle these 5 things and get really good at them, and then we move on to another couple things while keeping those 5 things in place, and then every quarter we just keep adding a little bit more, hence the name, going through the journey of cybersecurity versus, hey, you're not doing these 100 things, you're a bad guy.
Yeah, I like that term journey. Typically when I've done consulting in the past for small businesses, we set up a roadmap that did just that. Each quarter they would master one thing, next quarter master the next thing, and just keep adding to that, because it doesn't make sense to do everything, especially if you're a startup. You're not that mature with your other business processes. It's silly to expect you to be mature in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I heard Robert Herjavec on a recent video clip, and he was saying how some people overplan and they're trying to scale, and instead of worrying about the immediate and the near future, they're trying to scale for the next 5 years, and they don't have the budget and or the finances or the resources to do the full scaling, and they end up flopping and losing money and not being able to sustain their business practices. I think it's the same in cybersecurity in a way. Would you agree that if you try to do too much, you just don't have the ability to get great at it all, and then you end up not being able to spend the money that you need to focus in the right areas?
Yeah, 100%. And a small business owner should talk to a trusted advisor early on, and they can help steer directions for what kind of systems to use, what the risks are with those systems, how to secure your Google workspace or whatever you're using. I think if you do something early on, you can help prevent a lot of these problems, and there's ways to mitigate the risk as well. So yeah, it's often ignored though until there's an issue.
No one has the budget until after the fact.
Oh, isn't that the truth? It's like you can say,
well, they either have the budget or they're out of business, basically, right? It's one of those two things.
Sometimes that budget is court ordered. This is an interesting point, and we usually break this down from the perspective of a business owner. Like I'm a business owner. I don't have the money, the resources, the attention, the time in my day to do all of this stuff at once. And so we're going to break it down into pieces. But if we're just going to be transparent about our industry, we also don't, right? Like, and I mean, if I pick up a new client and their security is a mess, I could go in there and I could recommend everything. In fact, I could even sell them everything. But then do we really have the capacity to deliver that all at once and do it right and do it well? So, even from our perspective, and Brian, Christian, tell me if you disagree with this, we do have to pick the most important things, the most basic, the most, the ones that give you the biggest bang for the buck, and start there and get that done and do it well, do it right. And then we can talk about a more mature stack. Is that accurate? You guys have any thoughts on that?
100% agree.
I think it's mostly accurate, but I think it depends on the lens you're coming through. So if you're like a firewall provider, you're going to try to sell them a firewall no matter what, even if they don't even need it.
Correct.
And a lot of small business owners will buy a firewall because it's advertised it'll solve all your problems, but we know that's not true. But so they'll say you have to have the firewall and it'll do everything for you, or you have to have this anti-spam device or whatever. versus the number one thing you should do is like understand your own environment and patch your systems to make sure they're configured properly. That
Right.
would prevent most of the attacks, but that is rarely talked about if you're trying to sell a firewall, as an example.
That's right.
It's a great example because it actually just came up for me recently. I have a client and this is like a nightmare situation where I am in a joint responsibility for cybersecurity with another vendor. And I'm not going to get into why. It's a real thing. It happens, and there's nothing that any of us can do about it. So they've got a situation where they need equipment to be replaced. They need to be done now. The equipment is failing. It's taking down their network. And when I went to them, I approached them. I said, "Hey, here's what we need to do. We've known about this for 2 years. Like, it's time to just pull the trigger. We got to get it done." They said, "Yes, let's do it." Then all of a sudden, well, we don't understand why we need that. We have this other vendor who's supposed to be doing all this for us. And Christian, when I said, "Hey, let me talk to this other vendor. We're going to put our heads together. Let's make sure we're not overselling you because we never want to do that." And the other vendor is providing a firewall. That was it. That's their entire. Other than software, they also, they have some software that they sell them. So you're right. It does depend on the perspective we're coming from. But it really doesn't this just illustrate the problem that business owners have where they are talking to different people in a language they don't know and understand, and everybody's telling them something different. So
Yeah,
what's a guy to do? What's a business owner to do in this situation?
I think they need to take ownership and learn a little bit about cybersecurity, so they're
Okay.
not fooled or tricked by all these vendors trying to sell them, endpoint protection, which is a big one, and get them on a subscription. And I'm not saying that you don't need endpoint protection, but I think you have to make informed decisions. Just like when someone's trying to sell me as a business owner lead generation services.
Oh my God, those are everywhere.
Yeah,
And they don't work.
I tried one. I've tried a couple, and they did not work 100%. But I
Right.
literally get phone calls or emails every day about those. So
Yes.
I had to educate myself on how to lead gen works and what I should do myself. So I think it's the same concept with cybersecurity. It's just, I think it's overly complicated. And when someone hears the word cybersecurity, a business owner, they just sort of tune out.
Correct.
And I think,
Yeah.
and I wrote about this in my first book. As an industry, we've done a horrible job with all this like extra vernacular, this language, talking over people's heads, making it super complicated. And I think we've done this because cybersecurity people want to be, quote, smart. So if we have our own language, it looks like we're smart, but we can't communicate with a business owner effectively. And that's, where I think the big gap is in cybersecurity.
Okay, so that's a perfect segue into the title of your book that I intentionally twisted. So I'm like, hey, you think you're the smartest person in the room, which is the exact opposite of what that book was about, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about that book and what it is? What's your core